For over a decade, the Fast franchise was all about family. It was all about loyalty. It was all about never leaving a friend behind. Through the street races, through the heists, and through the ground-defying moments, they survived everything. In 2013, reality didn't follow that script. Paul Walker died, and that's the moment that changed everything. When Fast and Furious began in 2001, this wasn't about saving the world. It was about belonging. It was about identity and the love for racing. This is where Brian O'Connor stepped in as the undercover cop, which was literally there to infiltrate the Toretto gang. But guess what? Out of all the twists and turns, I think he found the passion that he'd always been looking for. The passion in racing and a family that really felt like he'd fitted into. The outsider now becoming an insider. And it was clear at the end of Fast and Furious 1 where he lets Dom Toretto escape his grasp and escape the law, because he had a choice to make. He could either stuck with the law and lose the family, or turn his back on the law, and now this became his duty to have a family and to be able to be part of something bigger than what this law was trying to do and bring down. And that word family, that the foundations were built in that moment of what it means to be part of a family, that catchphrase that we hear all the way through the Fast and Furious franchise. He was the glue into bringing it from being just a bona fide racing film franchise to being a heist franchise to being something far bigger than anyone could have imagined. Paul Walker was the heart and beating soul of what Fast and Furious was, and felt that he was able to match Dom's intensity with a nice calm energy which seemed to be lovable, and nobody can forget the impact that Paul Walker had on the Fast franchise. Brian O'Connor's story was still being written, and in 2013 it became evident that not only did the Fast franchise lose a character that they could never replace, but they also lost the person who played him. In November 2013, production had started on Fast 7. It looked well on its way to becoming something even bigger and greater than we could have imagined. Fast 5 had taken the franchise from just being a racing film to being something far bigger in heists and different kind of storytelling. 6 put it on more of a global branch than we'd ever seen before. 7 was meant to take the franchise to heights that we'd never seen before. But then, the unthinkable happened. But on the 30th of November 2013, Paul Walker attended a charity event for Global Worldwide. That afternoon, he was a passenger in a car crash in California. He was only 40 years old. The production stopped immediately. The crew found out the exact same way we did, through headlines, through disbelief, and through shock. And suddenly a franchise built on brotherhood, on loyalty, was now at a standstill because they didn't know what to do. This was something that they couldn't write their way out of. This wasn't a script that they could change on the fly. This was a monumental moment that literally changed the complexity of Fast and Furious moving forward. And the main question that was on everyone's mind, how do you finish a film when the main heart and the main glue that held that franchise together was no longer there? Production on Fast 7 was immediately halted for all the right reasons. 1, because they were all grieving, and 2, because they literally didn't know what to do. This production had started filming with one of their main stars in Paul Walker, and that hole isn't just something that you can just paper over the cracks with. They had a genuine question: should we cancel it? That was a genuine option. Should we rewrite it? That's a genuine thing itself. Do we kill the character off? Do we move the character away somewhere so the character's still alive but moved away from the world? Do they not proceed with Fast 7 and sequels after that? Do they continue and act like nothing's happened? These are genuine questions that they had to answer. But I think they made the right decision. With how they managed to do it in the end with Fast 7, they continued production. And instead of replacing the character, which would have been stupid, instead of killing the character off, which might have been disrespectful, instead of ruining Paul Walker's legacy and the character of Brian, they decided to let him basically live forever. In a moment which passes cinema now, with the song See You Again playing as Dom Toretto looks at Paul Walker's Brian for the very last time as they drive simultaneously alongside each other and then split ways. I think that was the perfect ending for Paul Walker's character, using CGI with his brother's help to stand in for Paul Walker. I think that was the most respectful thing, because not only you didn't replace Paul Walker, you put in somebody who knew him better than probably most, his actual brother. You CGI'd Paul Walker's face on and the likelihood of what Paul Walker looked like. I think that was the best decision. The aftermath of this, the stunts grew bigger and the movie size got bigger. The budgets got bigger and they became to get more creative, go into space, becoming more world-saving group rather than a heist or races as the franchise was known for. It began to start to become something of not the Fast franchise that we knew earlier on. It was now spiraling into more of a action thing which felt more like Mission Impossible rather than Fast and Furious. And while it continued its success globally and continually, there was a subtle difference which was blatant to see. There was clearly a place missing for Paul Walker moving forward in the franchise, and to be honest, it's blatantly obvious. Sometimes a franchise changes because of a script. Sometimes a franchise changes simply for creative differences. But then sometimes you have like this occasion where they change because of real life circumstances. When Paul Walker passed away, it wasn't just a loss of a character. It felt bigger than that. Movies started to become more about bigger spectacles. They still reaped the rewards in money, but it felt like it lost the foundation, the glue that held it together. The timeline of before and after Paul Walker's death show that everything changed.